What are we discussing on today's podcast, you ask? Well, we got to give our takeaways from that series against the Miami Marlins, discuss the next series against the San Francisco Giants, and discuss the D-backs in the latest Locked On Power Rankings, all on today's Locked On Diamondbacks podcast.
You are Locked On Diamondbacks, your daily Arizona Diamondbacks podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome into the Locked On Diamondbacks podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Download the Game Time app and create an account and use code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off your first purchase. Last minute tickets, lowest price, guaranteed. I'm Millard Thomas, host of this wonderful podcast, multimedia journalist, and I'm a graphic designer. So please go check out my website, millardthomas24.myportfolio.com. I'm going to see all my latest work, from my packages to my articles to my photos and my graphic design. If you want to see more content by me, just follow me on Twitter at CreatorThomas24 for my personal account, or just look up Locked On Diamondbacks about Twitter, Instagram for the podcast handle. And of course, thank you for making Locked On Diamondbacks your first listen every day. I would not be able to do this podcast without you, my loyal listeners, sharing, subscribing, reviewing, doing all that so I could do this podcast for you. Thank you. It's free and available on all platforms, so please continue to tell your friends. One of those platforms is YouTube, so please hit subscribe on the Locked On Diamondbacks YouTube channel. I am still in Hawaii. By the time we do podcast next week, I'll be back home in Arizona with my normal mic. No more shoddy quality on the audio or YouTube video, but since I'm still in Hawaii and on vacation, I think this is going to be my last podcast of the week and take off on Friday. One, so I can enjoy the rest of my vacation, and two, just because I hate the bad quality that I'm producing right now. I really don't have any other choice, so I apologize to my audience out there, the Locked On Diamondbacks faithfuls, but I'm still putting in work and doing the most I can for you guys, but I apologize for the quality this week. I'm going to have to upgrade my backup mic because this thing does not get done anymore, but thank you guys for enduring with me, and we'll be back to normal podcasts next week. This will be the last podcast of this week, but still, I'm here with y'all, and I have my choppy audio quality. I do want to talk a little bit about this D-backs series against the Miami Marlins, because the D-backs now are 20-17 after this loss to the Miami Marlins, where they lost 2 out of 3, and it was just a really frustrating series. I'm not going to act like I was locked in the whole series, because I am on the beaches of Waikiki, so it's not like I'm locked into every D-backs game out here. But what I've been able to watch, what I've been able to glance, the D-backs definitely blew this series, because you did have a tie game in the finale, and then Andrew Chafin gave up an earned run. And then the game before that, game 2, it was a terrible Brandon Pfaadt start. And after the series, it's really confirming my beliefs that the D-backs do not have enough after their starting rotation, and it might be a concern that Mike Hazen and this D-backs front office needs to address, because the D-backs are still below league average in the National League when it comes to innings pitched per game started and pitches per game started by your starting pitchers. And when we look at the D-backs quality start percentage, that is slightly below league average as well. So the D-backs need a better job from the rotation members. Merrill, Kelly, and Zach Gallen have been put in work, but Tommy Henry, he's been probably the best young starter all of a sudden of the Thoughts, the Jamesons, and Ryan Nelsons. I'll probably have Tommy Henry number 1 so far, but Ryan Nelson, he's been struggling big time recently, and he's someone that I was pretty high on entering the season, like a Dre Jameson, and he's struggling a lot recently. He's now has a 6 ERA in the 7 starts he has this year, over 36 innings. And if you just look at the last few starts, his most recent start, 5 innings, 2 earned runs. That's not too bad. But before that, 6 earned runs, 4 earned runs, 5 earned runs. So Ryan Nelson has been struggling a little bit. Tommy Henry, I mean, he's probably, like I said, been the best of the young starters that the D-backs have thrown up there this season. And even with that being said, he has a 5.17 ERA, because he's still not a high ceiling guy, and it's never going to be like he goes out there and throws 7 innings, no earned runs with 8 strikeouts. But this is the most recent start. He did have a quality start, 6 innings, 2 earned runs, which you do like to see. But Brent Pfaadt has probably been the biggest miss so far for this D-back season, because of course he didn't start the year with the D-backs, but he was a highly anticipated rookie. entering the season, and we just were waiting for his debut all year. He finally got the call, and so far he's been a major disappointment for this D-backs team because he was absolutely crushed by the Marlins in game 2 because Brandon Pfaadt gave up 2 home runs. I think he has 4 home runs now given up through the 2 starts, and Pfaadt just hasn't been good. A 12.10 ERA through 2 starts. You got Dre Jamerson in the minor leagues as well. And now the D-backs are kind of searching for answers and are kind of hoping Zach Davies comes back pretty soon off this injury because they kind of need him in this rotation. And now I'm asking questions. What should the D-backs do to fix this rotation? What should be the plan of action? And so it's like, I'm not entirely too sure. Should the D-backs go out there and try to acquire a starter? Maybe I wouldn't be opposed to it. Now, what do you have to give up? I don't know. Do you have to give up a young rookie starter that's already in the rotation? Probably not. That's not how trades work in Major League Baseball. The D-backs would probably give up some random prospect, maybe their 28th best prospect if they went out and acquired a real starter. But it's like, who's even out there on the market that you would want to acquire that would actually help out this D-backs team? Like, could you go and poach someone from the San Francisco Giants rotation? Do you want to go out there and get a veteran, someone that's like early 30s to mid 30s, that just good, solid, be your number 3, someone that's like 32, 33, experience, playoff experience, someone that you thought Madison Bumgarner could be? Maybe not the number 1 guy that you signed Madison Bumgarner to be, but someone that could be your number 2, number 3, early 30s, playoff experience. Maybe the D-backs try to go out there and find someone like that to their rotation. Or they try to find another young guy that could mix in with the Zach Gallens and the rest of the D-backs in this timeline that they have building right now. Like, is a guy like Freddie Peralta, who has been, the Brewers have been rumored to maybe be trading Corbin Burns because the Brewers just blow it all up with what they have right now and try to rebuild. Freddie Peralta still late 20s, 27, 28 years old. So he'll fit right in with the Zach Gallen in terms of timeline. So the D-backs go after a guy like that. Like, I'm just throwing out questions right now because I do think this D-backs need to upgrade this rotation. I've seen some people speculate that maybe you do Dre Jamerson with an opener. Like, maybe you combine a Dre Jamerson right now, so you pitch them on the same day, or Dre Jamerson and Tommy Henry, do whatever you need to do. Maybe combine 2 of these young starters in the rotation and make them pitch on the same day, and then throw another one in the bullpen when Zach Davies comes back. So the D-backs have a lot of question marks when it comes to this rotation, but I think the biggest question is, should the D-backs upgrade this rotation? I think the answer is yes when the D-backs have discussed complacency and the sense of urgency when it comes to the season. There's no question marks that this D-backs rotation, as it currently stands, just isn't good enough to compete on a big level. Now, could this rotation be good enough to make a wild card run and maybe make a postseason berth? That's potential because the D-backs, I think, could have 2 guys who finish in the top 10 in Cy Young voting. Zach Allen's a lock for the top 4. Merrill Kelly's going to get some consideration. He didn't make it last year, but could he get some votes this year? Yeah, so the D-backs could quite literally have 2 guys in the top 10 in Cy Young voting. So when you have that 2 in your frontline rotation, then the D-backs offense doing what they do with the run scoring ability, the ability to create havoc on the bases, like the D-backs have enough talent to potentially make a postseason berth. But with the rotation as it currently stands, is it good enough to go deep into the postseason? Is it good enough to play spoiler in the playoffs and maybe make one of those Cinderella runs like we've seen from the Atlanta Braves and the Philadelphia Phillies the last couple of years? Right now, I don't think it is, but with how the D-backs have talked about attacking this season, I do think Mike Hazen and the front office are looking at the D-backs rotation and are definitely considering an upgrade. And if you ever need to upgrade your tickets, then the best place to do that is Game Time. Let me get the little overlay for my YouTube audience, because Game Time is the best place to buy tickets, because buying tickets to your favorite events shouldn't be stressful. I love Game Time because it's the best place for last-minute ticket deals. Forget planning months in advance. Game Time has deals on tickets right up the day of the event. Get exclusive flash deals on tickets for football, basketball, baseball, concerts, comedy, theater, and more. The Game Time guarantee means you'll always get the best price. You find tickets in the same section and row for less. Game Time will credit you 110% of the difference. It's the fastest growing ticket app in the country for a reason. Get images of your seat before you buy so you know exactly what to expect when you arrive. Snag the tickets without the stress with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account, redeem code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last minute ticket deals, lowest price guaranteed. All right. Let's get back into the podcast. And now let's discuss the D-backs next series, because next up, they play a team that they have yet to see this season, but a team that they've seen a lot in the past, and that is the San Francisco Giants. And the D-backs last season against the Giants were 10-9 and had above 500 record against the Giants. And I think that's really positive because in the past, Giants, at least during my time covering this podcast, have owned the Arizona Diamondbacks, because the D-backs were 10-9 against the Giants in 2022, but just the previous year in 2021, the D-backs were 2-17 against the San Francisco Giants, and just absolutely terrible. And you felt it in those games. It felt like the D-backs would never get over the hump. In 2020, the D-backs were 2-8 against the Giants. So over a 2-year period, the D-backs were 4-25 against the San Francisco Giants before being 10-9 against the Giants in 2022. And of course, my big proclamation entering this season against the San Francisco Giants, we still haven't announced a bet against Ben Caspick, but I bet Ben Caspick entering the season, the D-backs will finish with a better record than the Giants. And I said it on the NL West Roundtable preview for entering the season. I said the D-backs will finish in third place in the NL West, and will finish ahead of the San Francisco Giants. And so far, so good. I'm looking good, because the San Francisco Giants are 16-19, I believe, in the NL West, and are definitely behind the D-backs in the standings. And the Giants this year just haven't been that good. The Giants are actually 16-20, with the D-backs 20-17. So the Giants are, 3.5 games back, I believe, of the D-backs. D-backs have a +8 run differential on the season. Meanwhile, the Giants are -23. It's a little surprising, maybe, when you just look at the baseball reference for this lineup, because the lineup doesn't look terrible. Right now, they have 4 players with above a 400 OPS in their lineup right now, with the Wilmer Flores playing pretty well, Thairo Estrada playing well, J.D. Davis is having a comeback season, and then Mike Strumsky's hurt, but he was playing pretty well before he got hurt as well. So the Giants have at least 4 guys playing above their skis right now. Still got Jock Peterson. So the lineup, in terms of what the offensive ranks, just look at individually, the offense looks like it shouldn't be that bad on paper. Look at pitching, the same can be said. Logan Webb is still a stud. Dallas Scafani and Alex Cobb have had a really good year as well. Maybe the back end of the rotation hasn't been good, but at least you got 3 starters pitching well. Duvall has been good as your closer. Rogers has been good as your setup man. Maybe the rest of your bullpen hasn't been good, but you can at least point to 3 starters and a couple of relievers that have been good. Meanwhile, some dudes in your lineup have been producing as well, but on the season, this Giants team just hasn't been that impressive. When you look at runs scored, the Giants are 10th in the National League. Now, one way they do have to be fearful of the Giants is the home run, because the Giants are 3rd in the National League in home run. So even though they don't score a lot of runs, they can change the score in a hurry with one swing of a bat, because they are so home run dependent. But if they don't hit home runs, they're not going to do much else, because the Giants are 11th in batting average in the National League. And when we look at the team ERA, the Giants are middle of the pack, 8th in ERA in the National League. So this Giants team is probably below average when it comes to offense, and middle of the pack when it comes to pitching. But considering how this team has played against the D-backs in the past, it's always been close. It's always been a dogfight. These are 2 teams in the NL West. As the D-backs team, you can't take this San Francisco Giants team lightly. And game 1, you're going to see Alex Cobb versus Tommy Henry. And like I mentioned before, Tommy Henry is coming off his first quality start of the season. And so I want to see Tommy Henry keep it going. We need right now just length from our starters, like we've talked about. The bullpen looks taxed, specifically maybe with the Andrew Chafin, who had just not been good the last couple of weeks. And Tommy Henry, at the very least, he could do a Merrill Kelly impression where it's like maybe he gives up 4 earned runs, but even if he gives up 4 earned runs, you still feel like he could pitch 6 innings, maybe even pitch into the 7th. I feel like Tommy Henry is an innings eater, even the days he don't pitch well. He doesn't pitch well. Let me at least get my grammar correct for Sully Baseball. So Tommy Henry versus Alex Cobb, game 1. I don't know who's won the rest of the series for the Giants, but we'll get Ryan Nelson in game 2. So the D-backs are not set up well to win this series because Henry won, Nelson 2, Zach Gallen, of course, in game 3, and then Brandon Pfaadt 4. So we're going to see a lot of the young D-backs rookie starters. And like we mentioned, maybe the D-backs should upgrade this rotation, but this is going to be a great chance for this D-backs young starters to bounce back. You get to go against an NL West opponent. Emotions are going to be riding high. The pressure is going to be on. These games always feel magnified, I want to say, when going against the NL West opponent. So when the Tommy Henrys are pitching and they're pitching well and shutting down a Giants lineup, that should add to his confidence. When Ryan Nelson's got that fastball working and striking out dudes, upper 90s, he should have more confidence. When Brandon Pfaadt finally has his first good start and it's against a big NL West rival like the San Francisco Giants, that should make him feel better as well. So for this D-backs team, I want to see them go off against the San Francisco Giants, but don't take this team lightly. The Giants always play the D-backs well, and they do have some dudes in this lineup I like. Michael Conforto is having a real down season. I'm not too worried about him, but a guy like Mitch Haniger hasn't gotten going yet this season, and he does have a lot of power, so I would be afraid to turn him loose in this series. I wouldn't want him to get going against this D-backs team. Lamont Wade Jr. is not someone that I've talked about, but he's quietly been like really dominant for the Giants this year, over 900 OPS, 6 home runs. So that's another guy with over 800 OPS that you have to worry about if you're this D-backs team. And like I said, there are a bunch of dudes in this lineup. That's 5 guys in this lineup with over 800 OPS. We might only see 4 of them, but this team can score runs when they have the bats working. They can hit home runs. They do have power. It's just this Giants team hasn't clicked consistently, and they haven't clicked together. A lot of times when it comes to offense, it's about sequencing. Can you put those crooked numbers on the scoreboard where you have a bunch of dudes getting base hits? This Giants team is like a couple dudes gets a hit, maybe one guy gets a home run, but it's not enough dudes in the lineup working together on the same day to put monster runs on the board. A lot of times this Giants team doesn't do enough, or they have their bullpen blow games because the Giants have been notorious this season for blowing games via the bullpen, which is something D-backs fans can definitely relate to. So the D-backs, I'm going to turn up my brightness for my YouTube audience on my computer. So hopefully the D-backs can get it done against the San Francisco Giants team, because I love seeing the D-backs take down the Giants, and any NL West opponent I kind of hate. So hopefully the D-backs can take them down. And now I want to talk to you guys about So Rare, the sponsor for this podcast, because our new sponsor, So Rare, is a revolutionary fantasy baseball game and marketplace, transforming fans into owners with officially licensed digital cards featuring players from across all 30 MLB teams. Unlike other fantasy baseball platforms, So Rare managers truly own their fantasy experience, collecting, buying, selling, and competing with player cards against global opponents to win epic rewards. Win or lose, you still own your cards, and there's no cost to play. Plus, the more you win, the more you advance, collecting increasingly powerful cards and accessing next-level competition and rewards. So Rare MLB game weeks happen twice weekly and span a 3 to 4 day cycle. At the end of game weeks, So Rare MLB managers who rank at or near the top of their division leaderboards win a variety of rewards, which can include So Rare scarcity cards, game tickets, merchandise, signed jerseys, and VIP experiences like meeting MLB stars. Prizes may vary depending on the competition. So head to SoRare.com/lockedon. That's spelled